Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Truly my favorite comedic cast on TV. You guys are so damn funny.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here. I can't believe there's this many people here. Thank you, everybody.
Will you say your name and the character you play?
I'm Wendi McLendon-Covey, and I play, I receive it.
Careful, because now you're going to have to do that with everyone. That was a huge mistake.
You've set yourself up,
yeah,
and now you got to keep
we will know
doing it.
whose applause was louder.
And I played Joyce, Dr. Joyce Henderson, the administrator of St. Denis.
Hi, I'm Allison Tolman. I play Alex. Thank you. Yes.
Pretty good.
I deserve it.
Hi, I'm Kaliko Kauahi, and I play Val.
That's what I'm talking about.
You guys got to give yourself somewhere to go. You know what I mean? Some more people.
I'm Mekki Leeper, and I play Matt.
And I'm Josh Lawson, and I play Bruce. No. It feels forced. That doesn't feel real.
They're saying Bruce. They're saying Bruce. Bruce.
Bruce.
I'm Justin Spitzer. I play the co-creator and executive producer, general hanger-on.
Yep.
I'm Eric Ledgin, co-created the show with Justin and showrunner, and my kids are here, so they would probably really appreciate a loud applause.
Loud, loud, loud.
That's so nice. That's really nice. of
Yeah,
you guys.
that's, because that could really stick with them for a while if it wasn't loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might affect them as adults. Okay, so I want to know everything about this. So I think, hi, Eric.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good to see you.
I feel very grateful there's so many people here. It's really nice, and this is so close to my house, which I really, really appreciate.
It's so nice. It really is. Okay, so a hospital drama is a big thing right now. We've got The Pit, we've got Grey's Anatomy. But we don't normally put a comedy in a hospital. What made you want to do that?
Yeah, I had a few experiences throughout my life, either as a patient or a friend or a loved one of a patient in the middle of the night at some rural hospital, in a city hospital. And the thing that surprised me the most about all those experiences is that there were funny things that always happened, whether they were funny because they were awkward or just, breaking tension. And that felt real to me. And so in trying to think of a workplace, I love workplace comedies, and it just seemed like a place where everyone there is having an extremely memorable experience, like something that'll turn into a story they'll tell at a dinner party in every one of these rooms. And then there's a group of people that work there every day, and it just is another day for them. That felt like an interesting juxtaposition to me.
Yeah. And you've worked in mockumentary before.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, what do you love about it?
I think so much of what the funniest stuff for me is what feels real, or at least like the building of that tension of something feeling like you're right there, and there's just no better format to do that than being a fly on the wall of something that's supposed to be really happening.
Right. Okay, so Allison, you've mentioned before that you've always wanted to work in mockumentary. What is it that appeals to you about this genre? What is the difference, I guess, of working in mockumentary comedy and not?
Yeah. I mean, Wendi always says very wisely that the best thing about mockumentary comedy is that there's jokes between the lines, because your reactions are a punchline and you kind of get to find them yourself, which I think is very true. I've always loved mockumentaries because I like that it's such a perfect blend of like really deep, true, grounded acting and the dumbest the dumbest scenarios you can find. But I've always loved mockumentaries. I love Christopher Guest films. Was a big fan of The Office, British and American. It's funny because I can't really watch cringe comedies, but something about a mockumentary, I think the way that they invite the audience in, the way that they're always connecting with you via the camera, I don't know, it softens the edges for me. I love watching them and I love making one.
That's great. Okay, now I really just have to ask everybody, do you guys what's your favorite mockumentary? You can just go down, you can just rapid fire this.
Waiting for Guffman is
Waiting
my
for
fave,
Guffman,
yeah.
great. Do you have a fave?
Waiting for Guffman,
It's
yeah.
hard to beat.
Theater people.
I know.
I'll just say the British Office,
Yeah.
that like on every level
Yeah.
hit for me. Yeah.
I mean, both those.
Yeah.
Waiting for Guffman was on loop in college for me all the time. So I guess I'm
Yeah.
There's a particular season of Alan Partridge, Mid-Morning Matters. I don't know if you've seen that, but that I think is his best. So that's pretty special.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. Office, and the thick of it isn't a proper mockumentary, but it's such a good one. Yeah.
I'm a fan of Parks and Recreation myself.
These are all great. And you guys are right up there with them. It's such a great blend. Like you said, it's such a great blend. You guys nail the wacky comedy with the ground. I mean, every single episode, the ones we just saw, these characters are larger than life and yet so grounded. I mean, which leads me to Joyce. How the heck did you come up with, her physicality is so, so quirky, and this is such, I mean, we know you from playing these amazing, hilarious characters, and Joyce is I haven't seen you play Joyce before. Tell us how you came up with her physicality, with the way you move, Wendi. You weirdo.
Well, I had the good fortune to work a lot of regular jobs in my life, and one job in particular, I worked at this shitty trucker hotel.
That's what it was
3
called,
miles
you guys.
away from Disneyland. It was the 3rd worst Ramada in Anaheim. And we were saddled with the task of trying to make this a destination property that people would flock to. You're going to come for the beautiful palm trees, but you're going to stay because Disneyland's down the street. Basically what it was is, you're going to stay here because it's cheap. There's a rock-breaking factory literally next door. There are literal train tracks that divide us from the rest of Anaheim. It was a dump, but I'm telling you, the creative photography we used for our brochures, all that to say, the way we were trying to push that stupid hotel uphill in front of us is the way that Joyce is trying to push St. Denis uphill. If I can just get, a birthing center or something in this rural hospital, people will stop going to Turkey. They're going to come to rural Oregon. They're going to stop going to Tijuana for their nose jobs. They're going to come here. If I just get more Japanese maples. So, she's not stupid. Right. She was a doctor at some point. But she's really gone off the deep end with what can really be done in this place. And I think that's just delicious to play, because that's life for most working people.
Yeah, that's great. So Mekki, you have a background in stand-up.
Yes.
Yes, you do. Is there anything with having an extensive background in stand-up that helps you with the mockumentary part of doing this?
Yeah, the talking heads are, you just get to kind of do stand-up to just the camera. And yeah, I don't know. I think the most fun thing is when writers are hitting you with alts in between recording, talking heads. Yeah, it's you'll have the paragraph or whatever it is, and then sometimes it's fun how collaborative it gets, because they'll give you a full new thing that you had, none of the words are the same at all, and you kind of just have to be all right, I'm going to try to do this the closest I can. I think that's where it most feels like you're kind of playing around with the writers, which is really a privilege on a show like this. I don't know on a drama if you get to kind of interplay as much. So that's a real
I will also say that you often come up with something that beats all those alts, which really pisses us off, because we work hard on those. And it feels very shaming, but it's very good.
There's powerful ADHD, I think. I don't know.
Don't piss the writers off.
Yeah.
So you guys have an amazing staff of writers too. A lot of people that you guys have worked with before.
Really incredible. It feels to me like I've been gifted into this greatest hits of coworkers I've had from past jobs. A lot of them from Superstore and American Auto and Mrs. Fletcher, which, the room was good, and other shows that I've worked on in the past. It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, Kaliko, you guys have worked together before on Superstore. Nico Santos came in for an episode. Are you hoping to work with more people that you guys have put on other shows?
Yeah, I think
Season 2?
I'm always, for every role, I'm hey, Mark McKinney could play that. I'm always pushing Superstore, and and Josh Lawson was on a number of episodes too. I don't know. I feel like when you have a really talented group and people that you like, and so they're talented, they're easy to work with, why not use them as much as possible?
It's always a question of you don't want to. We have a lot of guest stars who are a patient there for a minute. You don't want to like waste someone that you know you like spending a lot of time with. So it's just finding the right roles for the right people.
But that is one of the fun things about doing a hospital show is you do get those amazing guest stars and the people that can just pop in for one episode. I mean, you had so many great guest stars this first season. I'm excited to see what happens in season 2, which I believe you're filming now. Deep into it?
We're starting to film in about a week and a half.
Okay, so not deep into it?
I'm not nervous. I'm
Yeah,
fine.
you're starting to film in a week and a half. Okay, great.
Yeah, we were really fortunate in season 1. We had amazing guest stars, and I feel like we're running downhill a little bit now because we're a season 2 show, and so I'm very excited to see who we have pop up.
So exciting.
Also, wait, I don't want to jump in or anything.
No, jump in.
But
Jump
I just
in.
think
This
like
is nothing.
a cool whatever like Hollywood thing that you guys do that I don't know if everybody does is in terms of like bringing back actors and stuff from Superstore. I think the show is so good because almost all of our crew is people that worked on Superstore and then worked on American Auto. So it's like 12 years of experience that make the show really good.
And it's a well-oiled machine. We shoot so fast, and I think one of the reasons why we're able to do that is because the crew is just, they're like family to each other. They know each other so well.
Yeah, I inherited so much good fortune from Justin and his past shows and just like an incredible family of people that love working together. And it was also a very compelling argument for us to bring to the studio to shoot it here because we had this huge advantage of knowing all the people that...
More. Kaliko, so Val is a very different character from Sandra, your character on Superstore. Did you and Eric and Justin talk about that? Did you talk about how you were going to set her apart, or was that all in the character ahead of time?
I think they got to know me over Superstore and was like, she's more Val than Sandra, so we'll just slot her in there and see what happens. Yeah, if we ask my family, I'm not acting, which I think is false as Val. I think I'm playing a character, but she's a much more, I'm gonna say grounded to keep it light. Yeah, she keeps the hospital grounded.
She does.
Yeah.
I love that. Josh, your energy as Bruce is so different from any of the other characters. Bruce, they're saying
Thank God.
Bruce. Was there an episode or was there anything where Bruce really clicked for you?
Yeah, that's so interesting that you asked that because there was. My memory is that it was the 4th episode we shot, but I think it was the school bully episode.
I love that
I remember
episode.
we talked
Great
about
That is the moment I think it sort of fell into place a bit for me.
Yeah.
Because it's so fun to play the confident idiot. Right, it's just there's such a long history of that in art and literature. Don Quixote and Falstaff or whatever. There's such a great paradigm for a character like that. But in that episode in particular, in the table read, I think it became so clear that Bruce could get away with so much because his insecurities were so obvious to everyone but him, and that really unlocked, I think. Something there where I went, oh, as long as he's blind to it and everyone else can see it, I think he's okay. And there is a positivity to Bruce, even though I think there's a colossal arrogance, but there's positive. I always feel like he's kind of got that, never fear, Bruce is here. I got this. And I think in some ways that's sort of a nice energy to have, even though there's a lot of Bruce in there.
And secret advantage of a hospital show is like him or not, he's saving people's lives, and that I think buys you a lot of goodwill.
And they have to work together, and I always love those moments when something in the hospital is what actually brings them together.
On The Office, the showrunner once drew a diagram of Michael Scott's mental psychology, and it was a man running up a hill, and down behind him was self-awareness, and he was constantly running away from self-awareness. And if he looked back, he'd fall into the pit. And so he's just running, and there's a little bit of that in Bruce.
Okay, so the episodes that we just watched, and all the episodes, they deal with humor in unexpected situations, which makes sense because it's at a hospital. How hard is it to keep a straight face during some of this stuff? Because it can get wacky. It's such a great balance of wacky and grounded, but I imagine this is a very funny cast. I imagine there's some breaking, and I'm curious, maybe who breaks the most? Who? Do we have a breaker amongst us?
We don't really break that much. I think I think, don't you
Australians are famous for breaking. Ray gun, anyone? Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Put it
By the
away.
Okay, I just
By the way,
keep her spirit alive.
how many people, the minute he started talking, were like, "Is he Australian?
Yeah.
Is he putting on an accent?" His
Australian.
accent still blows me away.
Yeah, it's
how
really
he
good.
does seamless American accent.
I do think that the mockumentary helps with the breaking
Right.
because you don't have to like hit a moment and hold it.
That's right.
You get to be in the moment and be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I have to
you know?
credit to even like our background and in the pilot when Wendi did this like unscripted cartwheel and heels that was like a big moment in the pilot, and there are people in the background, like people could have like lost their shit and been like, Wendi, don't do that, but everybody was like in character and in the moment. And
Kai broke a little, but we used it.
Right.
It was part of her. 'Cause
I think
she
somebody
would be reacting like
and I think someone did say, maybe Allison, somebody said, don't do that, but it totally worked.
I think I said, no!
Well, I lost it in the episode where Mr. Man over here had to give the last rites and read it off his phone because we didn't have a chaplain.
That was really fun. That was so fun.
That I damn near turned inside out. And then later on, because he was raised in a cult, and he talks about, oh, you should hear about the sequel to the Bible that my grandpa wrote. You ought to hear what they do to masturbators. Well, it was over. Thank God. That was the last thing I had to film that day, because
even watching it back when he's like reading the last rites and he's like, hang on one second, he puts the phone on the guy who's just passed
his
away.
chest.
That got me.
So good.
And then they didn't leave this in, but he kept pushing the up-down button for the bed. So, our almost dead man was going, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's very funny.
It's not funny when you talk about
Okay,
it.
so Wendi breaks a lot.
It's funny. And Mekki, how this character that has this backstory that just sort of keeps unfolding, we keep getting little tiny tastes of who you are and what you've done or been through. That must be so fun as an actor. And are you learning it as you get the scripts, or do you know all this stuff?
Oh no, I'm learning it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they're making it up as we. Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing right now is it was introduced in the first season, and I'm curious how much of the thread will pull. But Matt has an old man roommate named Gene.
Great. I can't wait to see who plays Gene.
Yeah, we
Wait to
haven't
meet
seen.
Gene.
He gives Matt tokens to use the bathroom, and so he only has so many tokens. It's a problem.
Yeah, but I love Matt because it's like that's just a great window for him to get to know like an old person. He's like, yeah, it's great. He knows stuff about Gene that he loves to tell people. So, yeah, I love being Matt. It's like that's kind of how I feel about acting on the show or whatever. I do show up to the lot every day. Like, no way. Like, they haven't fired me yet. That's crazy. Like, so yeah.
And you have a fun love story on this show, or a budding love story, a little romance, a little hand-holding.
This is true.
Tell us, we got to clap. People love love. People love when people hold hands. I do. Tell us a little bit about that and how much fun it is, getting to sort of explore that side on a show like this.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's fun because Kai and I became really fast friends. So I think that those are actually the hardest scenes to shoot because it's like, you hang out all day shooting something. It's a lot of like making fun of each other, and you eventually like. I mean, our dynamic is we're really mean to each other, joking around. So then when you have to be like kind of coy and flirty, it's actually kind of humiliating and embarrassing. To sort of be like, oh, geez, like I have a crush on you. So, but those scenes are really fun. And I'm curious, these two are not like, whatever, the prototypical like Jim and Pam or something. It's like they are hard, funny comedy characters that are having a kind of like tender, interesting thing with heart. So that's like very fun to explore, I think, yeah.
Now, Allison, you get to play a particular kind of straight man because you are very funny on this show. She has like, there's almost some absurdity to her. She can really, a lot of the comedy comes from Alex. And is this a lane that you enjoy? This sort of like straight man, you're us, you're the audience.
Yeah, that's what I really like about it is that Alex is kind of the like the fulcrum point around which all of this insanity swings, and she's the entry point for the audience, which does I feel like I regard the camera as another character in a scene, and so I feel like that makes me happy. But I feel like I always have backup because I have the camera. You know what I mean? So even though Alex is like put upon and is like the kind of long-suffering Alex, she always has the camera to be like, do you fucking see this? What is happening, you know?
I don't think that's an easy thing to do. You really do such a good job, and it's so natural. And we really do feel like you are looking at us. Okay, I've never done mockumentary, and now this is making me think, do you guys have like a very intimate relationship with your camera people?
Yeah, I feel like in anything where you're like looking down the barrel of the lens or where you're taking a lot of space and time with things, I do feel like that actors can have, it's like a really special relationship with the person behind the camera, especially because we use steady cams, and so we're kind of always in a dance with each other as well, and we're making space for each other. In this, I'm allowed to like acknowledge Jacob, who's our A camera operator, so if we're trying to get out of the room at the same time because Joyce is crying, I can be like, sorry.
That's great.
It's lovely. Like they really are, there's people there on the other side, we don't have to ignore them, you know?
And our ops have experience in reality television, which is really useful because they're there. They're playing a part to a certain extent. You know, they know they could be on take 5. They know what's going to happen, but the camera can't anticipate it because they wouldn't. So the camera, you have to wait for Alex to speak to find her, and there's a lot that goes into it to make it feel so seamless.
And they're great at it. They're really first class, the camera crew.
Okay, so Eric and Justin, there are some poignant observations, I would say, about the U.S. healthcare system. Is that a fun avenue to explore?
No notes. Everything seems fine.
Okay, I'll move on.
Yeah, I would say that we're not, like, cards on the table, we're not going in with any kind of mission to be like, this is what we want to say or this is what we want to do. We really are just trying to follow character-driven stories. I think it's impossible, when you're trying to make those stories feel real, you have to reflect the reality of the system and how people encounter it. And sometimes the person encountering it is myself. I had an experience in a hospital halfway through the season that went into the show.
Yeah.
And so it's always just finding what is real and speaking to that. And so
Freaking tell us the experience.
yeah, so I ended up with, right during NBC upfronts, I had a staph infection that got into my blood, and I ended up in the hospital for 3 days. And then I was like, a second I got in, it was after like an 8-hour wait in the ER, which is like, there you go, annoying stuff. And I got in, and I was like, this isn't a funny place anymore. This isn't, we shouldn't be doing this show. And then I got back, and I was talking about it with the writers, and I was like, it was funny because I did kind of have a Matt. I had like an irresponsible young boy doctor. And, but also, I was just telling the story and was like, yeah, I was like Googling a bunch of stuff, and I was talking to my friend who's a doctor, but then I didn't want to sound obnoxious to the doctors, so I had to be like, so is it true you should, like, I don't know, check for loculated pockets with a hemostat or something? There's no cool way to do that without sounding like a total asshole. And so everyone in the writer's room was like, you're the asshole in this story. I was like, great, let's write it up. And so,
But yeah, I think we can, we'll touch on healthcare issues sometimes, and we'll touch on, other issues in the world sometimes, but very lightly. And, people don't want to turn into a show to be lectured to. So I think it's just having a light touch, which Erica's great at.
This is maybe very open-ended, but can you guys tell me about maybe the hardest you've laughed on set? I know sets can be wacky and loopy and late nights and all that, but anything happen that...
I think our group scenes in the staff room.
Yes, tell me about
they
that.
start out, any day we have a staff room scene, we're all like, fuck.
Yeah.
Because we know we're going to go in this little room and be there for a really long time.
Those are some of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, they turn out great.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time to like block them and put them together. And then I'd say by the end of shooting them, we're kind of like snowblind and we're just a little loopy. And then we laugh a lot. And usually poor Wendy's the one who's having to like deliver long monologues. Right. And we're like, woo, lunchtime.
There was one moment that you and I had where there's an episode where like Bruce is pushing Matt all day, and finally Matt has to stand up for himself. And there was a take where like I think you knock a donut off my plate at like a birthday party.
Oh my God.
And you improvise something where Bruce comes and does like an uppercut to the paper plate, and the donut went off the plate and straight into like your eyes, which was very great.
I think that was my idea. I think in between I was like, try an uppercut, because it wasn't like working. I was like, you should punch it from below.
Yeah.
And then you immediately hit yourself in the face.
I got donutted.
And I was like,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it was great.
It was very funny,
Made the blooper reel.
Good moment.
When we were shooting the pilot, we asked Mekki to just kind of, I don't know how much of this made it in, but like be a buffoon with like, there's a saline bag and he couldn't figure it out. And we're just like, go do a bunch of stuff. And it just got progressively funnier. And then at one point, he's like trying to figure out how to like insert the tube into the bag and it's leaking and he just puts it and he starts drinking it. And it was so funny. And then I also ran to our prop guy. I'm like, that's saline, right? Like, that's not like some weird toxic stuff we use on, because we're gonna kill our actor in the pilot. But once.
Although I don't think it's great to drink saline.
Yeah, delicious. Really get into it.
And this is, okay, this question is always a little bit, when I get asked this, I know sometimes I struggle with it, but I'm curious how much improv you guys do, which isn't to say the scripts aren't genius and the writers aren't amazing, because they are, but this is like such a funny cast, and I imagine when you guys are all together, it just flows. And how much of that is going on?
I always say that we improvise like responsibly on our
Yeah,
show
yeah,
because we
yeah,
want to
yeah.
get everyone home for dinner. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Totally.
But we do. We improvise a lot, but we
Stay.
we know when to stop and move on. I think.
And we
It's
ask
also different
a lot
like
of time.
for every actor. I would
Right.
say like some people like to stick to the script. Some like Mekki will throw out a lot of like tags at the end of scenes that
Right.
are totally different and really funny. Allison improvises in a different way where it's like it's a lot of like phrasings and just different
Yeah.
ways of owning it and making it hers.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Wendy, you can be like, just go into the scene and you're angry, and she'll just do a whole scene. And it's funny. So it's just like sort of different for everyone.
Yeah.
But we do try to like get it goes through enough levels script-wise that we try to get it all
Right.
and know that we're gonna have what.
Yeah, our scripty Hannah, who is excellent, is always like, guys, we got to get one on.
Yeah.
If we miss it, if
Get
we
one
don't
in.
do it up top, she's like, we got to get one on book.
Right. I think for a comedy cast, that's sort of the dream scenario. Get one perfect, but then have a little freedom. How fun. The numbers are good, y'all. It was a huge.
I like how you broke that.
I
to
mean,
us.
I gotta tell you, it was such a big debut, and the numbers are only getting better. This is rare, you know, for a comedy that is actually a comedy. And
What?
I'm saying that with love. I'm saying that with love.
I'm sorry. A comedy that's actually a comedy.
What are you talking about?
D'Arcy,
names.
what is this
No.
concept you're
Name
talking
names.
about?
No. I mean, I love every show that's on TV. But I do. And we all do. But it's so fun to have this sort of, you know, old school a bit comedy that is hard funny with heart, and the people do be responding well. And I'm wondering how that feels. You guys have all worked a lot, and sometimes, you know, it hits and sometimes it doesn't, and you're in a cool moment where it's really hitting, and feel free to tell me how that feels right now, because it's you know, it's not as common these days.
Feels pretty damn good.
Right?
We're very lucky.
It feels amazing, and I think we all feel just so fortunate because I think we're so keenly aware because of the timing of this show, coming off of the strikes and then the fires. It's just such a hard time in Los Angeles. So to be working at all is such a dream, and to be working on a show that people like and that we like making, it just kind of feels too good to be true.
I mean, I just agree. And I mean, for me, it's very much like, you know, grew up huge fan of, I think like a lot of us, like, you know, like The Office and Parks. And it's very much like listening to podcasts about even like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all that stuff, just the actors describing the experience. By the time I got out here, I was like, oh, that's probably gone.
Right.
But, you know, it would have been cool. And then it's like, yeah, it's like a time machine to like 2006 where I'm
Right.
like, we shoot on the lot. Like we like, you know, it's a comedy on NBC. It's very surreal.
Yeah.
I have a slightly different experience in that I know nothing about what's happening to the show and the numbers, deliberately so. Not because I don't care, but because I care too much. I loved it so much that, I mean, I would just drive myself mad if I was, you know, Googling what are people thinking and what are the numbers like. And so I just put my head in the sand and just hope for the best. And so...
Wow.
Nice. Yeah. Very good.
That was
They're crying
perfect.
right now.
Yeah, that was so perfect.
How you
Oh
feeling?
yeah, I mean, I know that like you're not supposed to like go on all the Reddit forums and see all the horrible things
Right.
people say about your work and stuff, but I've actually found it very exciting and healing for yes, there are people that like hate it and despise everything.
Sure.
that we do.
What?
But no, it's just to see how many people that work in healthcare are seeing themselves in the show, relating to it, and like little things like I got a text from a friend who said he came downstairs and his wife and kids were all watching the show and laughing, and he was like, "It's our new Brooklyn Nine-Nine," or whatever. It was like such an honor to be like, "Oh, I'm doing something, part of something that families are watching together," and that's just the coolest thing.
It's so rare. It's so special. And Justin, you kind of went like this.
I can say something, but no, I hadn't said No, I mean, we were saying before about like, it's the same, the crew I've used Superstore and American Auto, and so like, it's easy to sort of become complacent and forget. It's like going to work and see the same people, and but every now and then I do have those moments of like, I'm just so incredibly lucky to be part of the show and have this incredible whole crew and cast that I love and are so talented. So yeah, it's great.
We're so excited that you guys are making season 2. We love it. This is such an amazing group of people. And the people that aren't here. Thank you for doing what you've done. Do more. And we will watch it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much
Really
for
nice.
coming.
Thank you, D'Arcy.